So still glammed, yes, reverting back to my own self, to my own look, and really just diving into this right now. Pardon me for a second while we just empty this place out, unplug, and we'll go from there. So, as most people may know from my introduction, I'm a transformational lifestylist. I live for personal and brand growth, development, and transformation. My mantra is to connect, transform, and grow. And why is this so? I say we all are a product of our experiences. We're a product of our own journey. And as we go, we make changes along the way. And these changes are the things that keep us moving on the journey of life, right? Some things go as we plan, and some things just do not. And then where do we take off from? So for me, I have a background in marketing communications. I then went into corporate communications from that background. However, in school, I had studied public administration. So all my life, I thought, okay, I'm going to work in public office. I'm going to work in public service. I love people. I love the community. I'm all about improving lives, and that's what I'm going to do. But it didn't quite work out like that. So I started out from temping, and that's how I ended up in the marketing space, learning marketing communications, and finding out that I really loved that. Well, guess what else I really love? Hospitality, people, and experiences. So when I got to the point where I believed I had had enough in corporate, I moved on into hospitality. I've always loved food. I grew up in a family that, cooks and entertains, and it was just part of us, right? So I always dreamed of having a restaurant. No experience, but passion. And with that passion, I thought I could explore new possibilities. Why not, right? 2013, I got the opportunity after about 18 years in corporate from North America to Nigeria. I was able to open a restaurant called Ginger Tapas and Grill. Restaurant opens, we're doing good, we're building a platform, we're curating experiences, and a lot of our experiences spoke to women. I went out of my way to make sure that this restaurant was a space where women could come, feel seen, feel celebrated, feel honored, engage, and build community. And that's exactly what we were able to do in this space. We ran programs, we opened up for press releases to women owned businesses. We celebrated things like Galentine's Love Talks. We took every opportunity we had to bring community in and enjoy one another's company, learning from one another also. Well, 3 years into this business, unforeseen, we wake up one morning and the restaurant is literally being hijacked. That's the only word I can use, right? The restaurant is being hijacked. My staff are calling me, they're yelling, they're frantic. Things are being moved out of the restaurant. And I'm like, what is going on? We had been hearing some trouble that our landlord was being questioned by the real owners of the building. Imagine that. You're renting a space, you're paying rent going on 3 years. And in the third year, you start to find out that your landlord is actually not the landlord. And as a matter of fact, he is a tenant of the actual owners. And we're like, excuse me, oh, that's a joke. So not enough of us tenants paid attention. The real owners then started to come. We started meeting them and they started sharing their concerns. The landlord hasn't paid us in 3 years. We are paying rent for 3 years to a man who is not moving the money forward to the owners of the building. Long story short, they got a court injunction to throw everyone out. The restaurant that was made up of us buying 3 spaces, breaking walls to create a space for dining experience, gone in the flash of an eye. Along with that restaurant loss came the loss of all the assets that we weren't able to save. Between the driver that was working for me at the time and one of the managers, I was abroad when this happened. They stole as much as they were able to steal without batting an eyelid. From the stove to burners to music equipment to our stereo to our jukebox, furniture, televisions. Oh, they stole all the food and raw materials. Whatever they could take, they took. So here I am, 3 years running a business. At the time, married about 20 years. In my personal life, I was also facing major dilemmas. My husband, who worked then for the Lagos state government in Nigeria, had literally just been downsized, right? His office was downsized and he was moved into a smaller area of authority. This started to tell on him mentally and emotionally. I suddenly lost my business and my income. Mental and emotional consequences. As a couple, we already had a lot of differences that we just weren't able to work through. And suddenly we find ourselves no income, no shoulder to support one another. We're down rock bottom. I remember our youngest child, who was about 8, said, "Mom, are we poor? Because every time I want to buy something now, you say, you can't have that, you can't have this, you can't have that." I said, "No, we're not poor, we're just making adjustments." Our older son said, "You mean you preach all these things you preach? You talk to people about transformation and their personal lives, and you build brands and you manage brands, and you didn't have a plan B for yourself if your business just falls apart?" Our second son, who's typically the most diplomatic, said, "This is about to get interesting. How are these parents going to lead?" This story happened in 2016. It's 2025. In another year, it will be 10 years. And all I have done from 2016, when I lost my restaurant, till today, is explore my limitless possibilities. I was always somebody who sang the song, explore new possibilities. Possibilities are limitless. And you know what God said? He said, "Let me test you." So you've been saying it. Okay, come and show me if you believe. Come and show me if you trust that I have you and that possibilities are limitless. I will push you in different directions and I will see how you come out or not. Ladies, my immediate conversation with God was, just carry me. Carry me and let your will be done. Because even when I think I know, I don't know. If it's running a business, I went with the skill sets that I had from my corporate career, but I didn't even foolproof myself. Now we've lost everything. So with that loss of my business also went a little bit of loss of my soul. I had built something that I loved. I had built something that I believed in, and just like that, I lost it. Of course, with that also came revenue loss. So one of the things I did in that season, and it was something that I had always questioned anyway, what next? What more am I about? Yes, I love people. Yes, I love food and hospitality. I enjoy marketing and brand. But what else? What else? Part of my experiences when I ran the restaurant with programs was having women come and speak to us. We called that program Brunch with Brains. And I remember at the very first event, the friend that I invited to come and speak, she was actually a former colleague from our corporate job in Nigeria. Her coach came with her to cheer her on. Her coach is a John Maxwell coach. And so while we were getting ready for the event, her coach started talking to me, asking me questions, getting to know me. And she said to me, "Have you ever considered coaching?" And I thought, coaching? I've not even finished solving half of my own life problems. Why would I want to coach anybody else? She said, coaching isn't about solving people's problems. Coaching is about helping people to find themselves and find the answers to solving their own problems. I still looked at her like, what's this woman talking about? Anyway, before I knew what was going on, she encouraged me to try to attend the John Maxwell conference. Ironically, I did it in the summer of 2016. I got so excited. I listened to John Maxwell speak and I said, I have to come closer. I need to hear this man's voice more. And I like what he's saying. So I attended the John Maxwell conference in 2016 in Orlando, Florida, and I got my certification as a coach, speaker, and trainer. And I remember thinking, this is a scam, okay, so just because I've attended something for 3 days, I've listened, I've participated in the activities, does that make me a coach? Really? She said, that makes you open to the potentials of being a coach if you would like to be. I thought, I have no interest. Ladies, when I lost the restaurant, when I lost my income, when I almost really lost my will to do anything and to be creative, I remembered that program. And I remembered how much I liked some of the things I heard in that program, right? So for the first time, I went and I dug out the books that I had got from that leadership conference. The 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. In the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth, I really found myself. I reconnected to myself. The law of awareness, the law of accountability. I had myself thinking about things like imposter syndrome, the law of comparison. Going through this book really just said to me, there's so much about yourself that you think you know that you don't even know. And the more I discovered, the more I said, I can't keep this to myself. I've got to share this with other women. And just like that, I began a life in coaching without thinking that that's what I was doing. I started diving deeper into John Maxwell's books. I started looking for other global, transformational coaches. Before I knew what was going on, I found Lisa Nichols. I started attending some of her programs. I found her through Mind Valley. If there's anybody here who's into personal transformation, you might have heard of some of these people. It was in that season, Zoe, as I continued to push and explore new opportunities, I came to Accra for a fashion show that a friend of mine was participating in. Her brand was participating. It was during that show, I met Kwame and a couple of other young partners that were working with the United Nations SDGs focusing on young adults. I have young adults. My children are still young adults. I always look out for my children. I'm always trying to teach them new things and help them. Now I'm finding that there's actually a whole world out there, a whole platform that I can tap into and continue to work directly with young adults. The next thing I knew, I got invited back to Accra and I joined this program and presented on stage. I met Zoe. The rest is history. We've gone back and forth, staying in touch, and I'm so honored that at this time during Women's History Month, you called on me again. I want to really summarize my conversation about exploring new possibilities with opening our minds to all the vast possibilities that are available to us and making our feet go places they have never been. During the time of my beginning to really come out as a coach, a lot of it I did for selfish reasons, for my own self, to save my own self from what was clearly undiagnosed depression that I was battling from the loss of my business, loss of income. Like I said, a little part of my soul was gone with it. And also, unfortunately, in that season, my spouse wasn't very supportive. But, he was dealing with his own. So I felt really alone. I felt like I was really in a dark place all by myself. Part of my explorations into, transformational coaches and lifestyle led me to find Lisa Nichols, like I've already said. Well, in finding Lisa, I got inspired by an activity during one of her retreats that I attended. And that activity inspired me to author a book with my daughter titled Ginger Aid, the Ginger Power Mindset and Transformation Book. During the pandemic, I wanted to host a workshop for young adults. We weren't able to pull it off because the pandemic. Guess what? I poured all the thoughts in my mind into a book. So in the time of the pandemic, things that I had always thought I could do, but I wasn't really sure how I was going to get them done. I wasn't even sure how I was going to get them started. The pandemic forced me to sit still and listen. Listen to myself, listen to my inner voices, and listen to my environment. You know, when we have a lot going on, there's a lot of noise. Excuse me, I'm trying to pull it closer to the charger. So this season really forced me to do a lot of new things. I've always wanted to write. I mean, I write all the time, right? But I'm typically writing for journaling. I write and I say, one day this will become a bestseller. I still, right now, have a manuscript sitting in my laptop that I haven't developed. But from the time that I really started to intentionally push the envelope, say you can't just keep talking about exploring new possibilities. What can you do for your own self to better your own life, to change your own crisis? Because it was a crisis. I'd left my corporate job, I'd left my corporate career, I'd gone into entrepreneurship as a restaurateur. Now I've lost my restaurant. I have nothing to fall back on. But, my 401k income and whatever little savings we had as a family. And so when I developed these two books, I thought, wow, these are possibilities that even though I knew were options for me, I just hadn't pushed myself enough to really explore. The first book that came out during the pandemic is titled The Daring Power of One. And this just really came from me telling myself, nobody's coming to save you. You have to do things by yourself to move yourself forward, and you can do it. And the daring power of one really just talks about resilience, self-belief, self-awareness, right? Because before you go out and you start running up and down, learning things, buying books, reading from other people, attending classes, what do you know about yourself? What do you know about your own strengths? What do you know about your own weaknesses? What do you know about your own opportunities? What do you know about your own threats? And these are the kind of things that I talk about in the book, right? Identifying your own authentic value add. Get to know your own self first. And then you can work on yourself. The things that need work, the things that maybe you need to tone down in the path of where you're trying to go. In the book, I provide a link to a self-assessment. The book has come out only as an ebook. I have prototype printout copies, and those I pray by this year we'll be able to print in hard copy. So we were able to do a workshop, talk around the theme of the book, invite other speakers to join us, and really help to inspire and motivate our youth audience. This year, by grace of God, come June, will be our 5th anniversary, and I plan for us to host a live workshop. I hope to see many of you there, either in person or virtually, like we're doing this evening. When the coloring book came about, I talked to my daughter about the experience I had at my Lisa Nichols retreat. And I said, on the last night, they gave us coloring books, they gave us different activities, and I picked coloring books because it reminded me of my childhood, and a fun activity that I liked as a young girl was coloring. And then I just thought, you know what? In all those books I colored as a child, I never saw anyone that looks like me. And in some of the coloring books we got that night, there were Black women and, mixed race women. And I thought, this is really interesting. And so I decided to create a coloring book that young Black girls could look at and be inspired for different roles and responsibilities, careers, Hello?
Yes, we can hear you now. I'm so sorry.
Okay, yeah, it looks like I was muted for a minute. Fine.
Yes.
Um, so we created this book where the idea was women who inspired me, women who inspired my daughter across various age groups, across various origins. We really wanted to focus on Black women, but we had to go a little bit more diverse. We included Malala, we included Michelle Obama at the time, we included Oprah Winfrey, we included Mama Burner, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, Tiwa Savage, Beyonce. So just a mix of women that spoke to me, spoke to my daughter, and we featured them on the pages of the book. The front cover, the back cover, the middle cover, and then all the other pages of the book were filled with affirmations, maybe little write-ups. We featured women who were doing, first things of their kind. VP Kamala Harris was featured. Um, we featured Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. The whole goal of this book was for young girls of African descent to be able to see themselves on the cover and in the pages of a coloring book, which they could bring to life as much as they wanted with, coloring materials, pencils, crayons, watercolor, or whatever. I'll tell you what these two experiences of writing, finishing, publishing, and producing and selling have done for me. They pushed me to explore new possibilities. They told me that I can. They told me that honestly, when one door closes, another one is just waiting to open. But that door is not going to open till you go and knock on it. The experiences told me that sometimes you have to stop to start all over again. And that's also okay. The experiences taught me that just when you think you have nothing else to give, that's actually when it's almost morning and you can push on into the dawn. Those two experiences taught me, reinforced, reaffirmed my self belief. Because sometimes you will find that when things are not working out, the only person cheering you on is you. You and your God, in whatever way, form, or manner you fashion your God, your spiritual anchor. One of my favorite songs of all times, and it lines up with my brand name, says, "If they know ginger, you ginger yourself." I love that song so much because there's nothing like being an advocate for yourself. It helps you break down barriers. It helps you believe and trust yourself. You're not waiting around. Oh, nobody saw me, nobody clapped for me, nobody encouraged me. You can encourage yourself. It also helps you explore your new possibilities from a more authentic place because you're questioning yourself. You're questioning your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, your threats. You know your own authentic value add. And you can say to yourself when you see opportunities, is that something that I can do? And if I can do it, is that something that I'm going to enjoy? And honestly, ladies, 99% of the time, the answer is yes. A lot of opportunities that we will find that come our way, 9 out of 10 times, if we're spiritually aligned, those opportunities are opportunities that we can take on and we can knock out the ballpark anyway. Do I have any questions or comments? I was able to see the chat before, then I put my phone in landscape.
Right.
Okay, let me see. Okay,
Not
so we're
yet.
still okay, fantastic. We're still all going. How am
Mm.
I doing on time also, Zoe?
You're good. You're good. Yeah, we
Fantastic.
have about 20 more minutes for your presentation time, and then we switch to questions.
Okay, fantastic. So again, you want to talk about exploring new possibilities, going where your feet have never been before. I'm glad Zoe said something about presentation because ideally I might have wanted to have slides for you. Ideally, I would definitely have the copies of my books so I could, show you and go through some pages, talk about the thought process um, from, connecting, transforming to growing. But talking about exploring new possibilities. I find myself on the set of a TV show. Again, I've talked about my love for hospitality, my love for people, my love for personal development. And I've always thought somewhere down the line, media is definitely in my story. But honestly, especially with age catching up on me and all the changes in my personal life, I always thought maybe the kind of media that's in my future is going to be public speaking, which I love, connecting and delivering to an audience, coaching, which, I'm always going to do. And I thought now there's something called social media. So I might just be able to embrace social media to get my messages out, to get my word out. If anybody on here is active on social media, I would like to see some thumbs up, some virtual thumbs up. Okay. My experience with social media is that you almost need a second life. Zoe, correct me if I'm wrong. It almost
You
feels
are
like you
very
need
accurate with that.
to run a social media account. Especially when you want to be intentional about it. Especially when you want to deliver real value. You want to share content that inspires, that uplifts, and that hopefully also teaches people something about themselves, something about the world that we live in. Absolutely spot on. It can be traumatic. So I've been thinking to myself, what am I going to do now for the rest of my life? I've started writing. Okay, fantastic. I'm speaking. Great. But are these things really paying the bills? Are these things really sustainable? I'm committed to the SDGs. Again, we're not going to keep talking about things. We need to walk our talk. What are you going to do as you go into your second half life? Yes, that's the question, Lucia. We're doing a lot of things, but are these things paying the bills? I'm a young lady from a very modest middle income Nigerian home. I'm the youngest of five kids. And we grew up to honestly believe in hard work, labor, independence. However, we, the women, were swayed. And we could see from my father that there was a high expectation for us to succeed on our own, get the best education, and then get married. And there was this, you know, kind of guidance passed down that a lot of things in our lives would be taken care of and sorted by our husbands. I'll use my personal interactions with my mom as an example. My mom loved jewelry. She was a very simple woman, but she really loves jewelry. And my dad knew that was like one of her things. So, he would buy her a lot of jewelry. And I remember, wearing some of her items once and just saying, oh, I like this ring and I like that one. And she's like, take them off. When you marry your own husband, he'll give you all these things and he'll take care of you in that manner. So I did come into adulthood with the expectations that yes, I'll work hard, yes, I'll do some things for myself, but ultimately, there's going to be one Oga chairman that really takes care of a lot of my expenses. And that led me subconsciously to never put building sustainable income at the top of my priorities. I worked and I fortunately always loved my jobs. I held several corporate jobs in America, from Goldman Sachs to UPS. I moved to Nigeria. I worked for only one company. I enjoyed a career where I stayed long with companies, so about 10 years with one company, 5 years here. Then I went into entrepreneurship. And from the loss of that restaurant, like I've talked to you all about, I then have gone into the world of coaching. Now, the thing with coaching, and Zoe, you might be able to relate, and there might be other people who can relate, is it can be a very freelance kind of world. It can be a world without a whole lot of structure, especially if and when you're not very disciplined, right? So, one of the struggles that I've had over the last 9 years is even asking and answering the question, are you running a business? Are you running a business? Or is it that you just want to come out when you get the opportunities, talk to women, encourage, and ginger them? Are you running a business? Can this business take care of you? Can this business take care of your expenses, your lifestyle? Can this business help you in the home? Can you contribute to the bottom line? The business for a long time was a hobby. I can't lie to anyone. Nothing was coming in. I was doing the things that I loved out of passion and purpose. Nothing was able to take care of me. It seemed like from 2016, 2019, going into 2020, it seemed like there was nothing I could do to generate income till the books came out in 2020, right? And even then, I was still saying, oh, I'm not all about money. I want to get my name out there. I want my passion and my purpose to be known. I forgot about profitability. So it's one of the key areas that I talk about in the book. I talk about passion, I talk about purpose, I talk about positioning, I talk about profitability, and I talk about perpetuity, building something that outlasts you. All of this lead me to say that as we go through this journey of finding, seeking, and seizing new possibilities, we honestly have got to be more open to allowing our feet to go where we might have never imagined. So far, we stay safe, sane, legal, and we don't compromise ourselves and our values. Hold on for me for one quick second. Yes. Do they need to lock up?
No.
Okay.
I just wanted to come.
Okay, just me. I'm here for okay, fantastic. Thank you so much. So this is going to be the perfect segue into embracing new possibilities, going where your feet have never imagined. Like I said, the writing started, okay, some change comes in, but it's not enough. The way you write and you're really able to live off of it is, consistent marketing, getting on those stages, talking and bringing contents of your book into the conversation, maybe going into schools. But remember, I wrote during a pandemic. The first book came out 2020, the second one 2021. So there was already limitations to how far I could push and sell myself. So no income was coming in that was going to take me where I needed to go. I was very reliant on my husband, very reliant on my savings. And I said also that there was always difficulties in that relationship. So it really got bad to where I really just got to the point of rock bottomness again as an adult. So I've worked, I've built a 401k in the past. I've left my corporate life to hospitality. I've lost my business. I'm trying to rebuild myself and build a new avenue for revenue in the coaching business, but I just wasn't able to bring anything to the table anymore. I tried to get remote jobs, nothing. I started applying to real jobs when the pandemic started clearing up, nothing. I started calling on people, nothing. Calling in favors, nothing. Literally, I say it all the time, and I'm still saying it because it's still a stage that I'm transitioning through. If anybody asks me how I've survived financially over the last 5 years, I couldn't even tell you. I couldn't tell you anything but the grace of God. And yet, if you see me, I'm flourishing. It's actually a math that doesn't add up. It doesn't add up. I've always been good with money management, and I know that has saved me to an extent, right? But what this season and coming out of the pandemic has helped me do is it has helped me say yes to more opportunities that I would normally not have said yes to. It has helped me upskill. I do not like technical things. I don't enjoy the computer. I'm not interested in technology. I hate to be the one to say it in this information age, but I'm not interested in all those things. However, I've had to diversify. I've had to learn new skill sets. I've had to dive into some databases because I was told there were opportunities in that area. Electronic medical records, I started taking classes. Things that nobody could have told me, I'll pay you to do this and I will agree. I had to diversify. Diversification, yes. Ladies, don't let's be caught in a conundrum with only one or two skill sets. We already have the gifts that our good Lord gave us coming into this God's earth, right? And part of our purpose is discovering that purpose and delivering on it. And when you find, like I am, that you're multi-talented, you have various interests, you're good in several things, sometimes you can be stuck and you don't do anything, you don't move. But when you find yourself at rock bottom will make you push. My presentation without slides, my biggest message is that let us not wait till we're stuck before we choose to start moving. Let us start diversifying our talents. Let us start diversifying our skill sets. And now AI has come to the table. So this only means more loss in jobs, more loss in incomes. I asked about ages before we started because I wanted to know the audience I was speaking to. I'll speak for myself. I'm in my midlife. I have 3 young adult children, ranging in ages 27, he'll be 28 next month, 24 to 17. My 24 is a college graduate. My 17 is about to go to college, the only girl, our princess. It is not as easy in the job market for a midlifer. Globally, anywhere in the world. You have all those talents and skill sets you brought with you. Getting back into the corporate realm is close to not happening. You don't look a day over 30, I'll take it. Thank you. I wish that could start translating into how the bills get paid. So again, I will go into don't think yourself too old. Don't think yourself too young. Don't think you can't learn new things. Don't put yourself in a box. Your thinking and your thought process has got to be diversification, obtaining new knowledge, unlearning certain things, learning new things. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Learn from your peers, learn from your elders. Most definitely embrace the ones coming behind you. You see those ones coming behind us? This Gen Z or what they're calling them. They're coming at a time where moguls will be born from just sitting on their phones in their bedrooms. Not to now mention the Gen Alpha, thank you very much. By the time the Gen Alphas come up, I think things like traditional college universities may start struggling with enrollment numbers. What are we going to do to prepare ourselves for new possibilities? I told you all that I'm on a set. I never really fashioned myself on a TV set. Apparently, my elder siblings tell me that when I was younger, from all the drama and theatrics I used to do, they always thought that maybe this one will end up on TV one day. I always knew I love food. And I always thought it would be so nice as I approach retirement, since it didn't happen all these other years in my life. It would be so nice to be able to do documentaries and travel. I love travel. I love food. I love people. Have cameramen follow me. I would document stuff and, bring it back home. I could never have imagined the opportunity that I just got. But other people imagined it for me. Such that when they heard that a TV show was about to come up in the food sector, and there was a judge needed, a female judge specifically, on a food show, not one, not two people immediately sent it to me. So another thing, let people know what you love. Let people know what you do. Let people know what you're capable of. Sisters, I just told you all for 5 years, I'm sending out resumes. I'm plugging into the remote opportunities. Nothing was happening for me. From learning the skill sets that I learned with the databases and electronic medical records, I've been lucky to get a few projects here, there, and everywhere in between in the United States over the last 3 years. In Nigeria, I haven't been able to do anything. And then I literally was just sitting, minding my business. Like when I say sitting and minding my business, I was in a car with 2 friends on our way out of state to 2 functions, a funeral party and a 90th birthday party of joint friends. And my phone just buzzed. My sister sent me a message and said, XYZ is looking for XYZ. I looked at it and I smiled. And I thought, I'm on my way out of town. Reception is even not good. I'll call or message tomorrow. I put my phone down. My phone buzzed again. The same message, forwarded exactly as my sister had forwarded it. I thought, wait a minute. There's an opportunity for a female judge on a TV show, and two people back to back just sent it to me. Just thinking, I've never done anything like that. Would I be able to pull it off? But you know what? I've heard food, I've heard show, I've heard opportunity. I said, you know what? It might be time for me to walk to places that I would have never imagined my shoes taking me. So I responded to the message and I said, I heard there's an opportunity I would like to try out. This is my speaker profile. This is my resume. This is my background in corporate. This is my background as an entrepreneur. And this is me. This is my passion. I'm Ginger. The rest is history. The next day I had a conversation. That conversation was really an interview. That conversation started with two people. Then they added on a third person, a fourth person. Before I knew what was going on, questions are being fired all around me. By the end of that weekend, all this started on a Thursday. Friday, the conversation. Saturday, silence. Sunday, a few more conversations. Monday, congratulations, you got the role. You guys are the first public audience to hear that there's a show that we have just finished shooting for. I literally was screaming to everyone. I said, I have a Zoom, I have a Zoom. The Zoom is at 8 o'clock Nigerian time. That's 7 p.m. in Accra. And everyone was looking at me like, how did you think you were going to pull that off? I said, well, because I thought we would have been done with production. Thank you all so very much. I receive it. I receive it. And so when Zoe's invitation came and the date came, and today was the finale, I said, not that I ever doubted, but I can't wait to get on this particular Zoom because also I know the place from which Zoe operates as a woman of faith. We don't share the same faith, but I know she operates as a woman of faith. And I'm here to tell you that God asked me to tell you that He's in all the details. Because the alignment has been surreal. The alignment has been surreal. And I'm also here to tell you, I've heard this said, and there were days I doubted it. Then a part of my heart will believe it. But nothing was happening for me. So I said, is it true? If you reap, you must sow. If you reap, you must sow. It doesn't matter where you reap, when you reap, with who. I'm sorry, when you sow, where you sow, with who you sow, at what point in time. But if you sow, you must reap. So don't be discouraged. If you feel like I've been sowing, nothing is happening, keep sowing, sisters. And when other people are reaping and you're not reaping, celebrate them. Celebrate them. The more you celebrate others, first of all, you ginger your own soul. The more you celebrate others, let me take that one more time, you will ginger your own soul. The more you feel joy for other people, because joy is a feeling. So it doesn't matter if you're feeling it for yourself, for the next person, for the third person down, if you're even feeling it for a cat or a dog. If you feel joy and you ginger others, yes, thank you, you must feel that joy. The more you celebrate others, you ginger your own soul. My brand, my platform is called Ginger Soul Lifestyle because through my adversities, and my restaurant was called Ginger Tapas and Grill. Through my adversities, the one thing that has stood the test of time, that is still standing the test of time, that will stand the test of time through eternity on God's grace and will is my undeflectable ginger soul. It is the one thing that I know that when they say, what do you believe God gifted you with as He sent you into this world? I'll say my soul. He gave me a soul that is able to just get up and keep moving. And what he has charged me with is that I cannot keep that to myself. And so here I am trying to build a coaching business, trying to build a speaking business, and from nowhere, an opportunity comes for a TV show. Well, when I say TV, we're also in new media age, right? So it might be streaming platforms that's not traditional TV, but the opportunity comes also when you're prepared. John Maxwell says that when opportunity comes, it's too late to prepare. So for those of us who might be saying, God, when, God, when, God, when, what are you doing to prepare? What are you doing for those new possibilities when they come in your face? Are you going to be able to grab them and run? Or are you going to have to run back and say, I'm coming, let me get this, let me get that? Don't get me wrong. I still have plenty of opportunities too that come and they've passed me up because I wasn't prepared. I have opportunities that sometimes I'm even the one that has gone chasing them. And then they say, oh yeah, come and show us what you can do. And then I'm not prepared. It's the most painful thing. It's the most painful thing when opportunity comes and you're not prepared. So as we continue to explore new possibilities, as we would like to see our feet, tiptoe or dance into spaces we would never have imagined, how are we preparing, sisters? Because when those opportunities come, it's too late to prepare. So if I can leave you with some closing remarks. Again, I'm so honored to be part of the Let Me Be a Woman Foundation. I love everything that's happening on this platform. I love, the pride and joy in saying that we're spiritually led and driven, and we are happy to, share that in what we do. I love the fact that Zoe has come. Oh, my sister has joined us. Thank you so much, big sis. These are all the people that I owe the journey to. I
Wow,
said
I didn't know you noticed that.
elders.
Yeah, I just finished my lesson, so I can join.
Oh, thank you so much for joining. I said to us all, hold on to your elders. There's a lot of wisdom there. Check in with your peers. There's a lot of lessons. Embrace the youth. They are fresh. They are willing to learn. And unlike us, these Gen Zs and Gen Alphas, some of them even take careless, uncalculated risks, but they'll rather take that risk and find out what's on the other side than pitter patter, dilly dally, which, if I can say, quite a number of my generation is guilty of. And I will always use myself as an example first before I talk about other people. I know the opportunities I've slept on. I know when I've dilly-dallied and things have passed me by. And this one time that an opportunity dropped in my lap and I seized it, I know how rewarding and how fulfilling it has been. And this is just shooting. We're not even ready yet for the show to be aired. And what are the odds that on the day that you invite me to speak, I'm still on set, we have just wrapped, and you're the first people that I can share with that in exploring new possibilities, and now exploring and pursuing me. And as that is happening for me, I can come out and talk about it. And I can say, sisters, only be encouraged. The best is yet to come. New possibilities are lining up for you. Are you prepared though? And if you haven't typically been prepared intentionally, what are you going to do different after the short time that we have spent together? How are you going to start getting yourself ready for those new possibilities? There's one more thing I would like to add in closing. It has been said that when you come across men with 20% ability, then the confidence level is 80%. If you ask them, can you do something, they say yes. And then they go and figure it out. Meanwhile, you might meet a woman with 80% ability and her confidence will be 20%. Why is this? These are some things I talk about in The Daring Power of One. It is because statistics have shown that from the age of 8 to 9, young girls start losing self-belief. Young girls start getting shy. young girls start getting called names and being told things that are not true, and they start to believe those things. Young boys, on the other hand, just brush it off and keep it moving. So it's another reason I'm really dedicated and committed to the work of strengthening the minds and souls of young girls and really helping them with, transformational mindsets. So, ladies, those things that you think, I can do it a little bit, how are you going to get yourself to the next level? Those things that you do very well, how are you going to package it together? Building your brand from the essence on your inside to what we see on the packaging on the outside. How are you going to prepare yourself that when an opportunity comes, your sister, your friends, your neighbors, your colleagues can say, Zoe's name is on that opportunity. You see that sister Lucia? She knows how to do hair. I hear they're looking for some amazing hairdresser on a show, on a program. How are you making sure that what you live for is visible in your lifestyle, in your career path? And with that, I want to leave us with room for questions and tell us my favorite tagline: I'm possible, and so are you.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Ladies, come on. Let me see the applause going up in the comments because what? This has been an amazing session. I have goosebumps all over. Um, I've written down so much notes and I have a lot of questions here personally that I want to ask before anybody else's questions come in. So, ladies, if you have any questions, please type them in the comments. But I have a bunch of questions that I want to ask before we go on. Listen, Aminah, you have no idea how moving this is for me. And I believe most of us also on this call because the idea of this morning, this very morning in today's session, we had a question that said, how do I move on from when I think that I have failed at, a goal that I set before? And now I'm listening to you share a story of not just moving on, but having to start all over, having to, accept that, you made losses, like cutting your losses and literally finding new ways to thrive. And you're not just surviving, you're thriving. You're doing a great job at, this new field, these new opportunities. And oh my favorite statement, ladies, drop for me in the chat. What has been the one thing that you have picked from this session that you never forget? The one thing that I have picked from this session that I will never forget is when opportunity comes, it's too late to prepare. I feel like this is like the best word that I could have get, which always should keep me on my toes to prepare and be ready for whatever comes. So thank you so
Credit to
much.
for that. Not my
Right,
original
right.
words. They struck me, and I always love to share that.
Man, thank you so much for sharing. I have two questions for you, right? My first question is, how were you able to hold yourself together when everything crashed? Because listening to the story, facing the kind of crisis you had in your business, losing your assets and everything, and then also having a bit of chaos going on at home and not necessarily having like a shoulder to rely on. How do you keep yourself together and not lose your mind, in such a situation? Because that's like very hectic. So yeah, that's my first question.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Zoe. Again, thanks for having me. Thanks for that question. And thank you to everyone on the call for your comments and feedback. It's all very inspiring for me too. I thought, how much time do we have? How many stories could you possibly share? And I said, I'll share the story that will probably be somewhat relatable because there's a lot of, entrepreneurs and we're all getting started in our businesses. I did say that one of the things that I admire about your platform is that you have a spiritual um, energy to it and you show that off quite proudly. I also grew up with very strong spiritual leanings. I grew up Muslim. And my parents, honestly, short of saying, go talk to God about your school shoes, they really instilled in us the belief in our higher creator and that he really is our source of sustenance. So, one of the things that I didn't even dive into because it gets really deep and really personal is the loss of my parents 2 months apart in 2006. So 2006, sorry, 1996. So that was my first leap year where my whole world just kind of came to a stop. 2016, exactly 20 years later, was another leap year where my whole world just wanted to come crashing down. And the same thing that took me through the loss of my parents is the same thing that took me through the loss of my business and family falling apart has always been one day at a time, one day at a time. You can only take one day at a time. And we have a saying in Islam, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, is we came from him, to him we'll return. And it really says we came with nothing and we'll go with nothing. So our time here, I understand, is very temporary. My parents talked about morbidity so much that they were comfortable with their mortality. And so that also groomed me to be comfortable with mortality. And even though I always thought mortality, human loss, this, it also has helped me with material loss. It's helped me with people losses, friendship losses, partner losses, so that same frame of mind has really helped me get through difficult times. And then the fact that, like I said, I really believe that the greatest gift that I was given is a ginger soul that just seems indestructible. And it's only by his grace.
Wow, wow, wow. I find that to be a very interesting response because usually when you talk to professionals around the world, very few people would openly admit that their faith is one of the strongest anchors that keep us. And I think that you put that so beautifully. I cannot imagine how much pain you must have gone through, considering that, like 20 years from when you lost your parents was exactly the time you lost your business and all of that happening together at the same time. And yet, going back and leaning on your faith to get through such a time. I just want to encourage everybody that's watching, everybody that's listening right now, you know, in as much as we may try to look like heroes, we may try to look like we're so fantastic and we do amazing things and everything, there is an unseen force, there is an unseen backing that is keeping us even as we go through all these valleys and crooked lands. And we come out strong because we know on whom we have depended, we know on whom we have relied. So, yeah, that's amazing. And I wanted to ask one last question just as an just as a cue for anybody who's feeling like they're falling down and they can't seem to pick themselves up together. And if you don't mind, if you could share with us, how old were you at the time where you had to start all over again, and what are some of the hardest thoughts you had to deal with and navigate through at that time when you had to start all over again?
I'm laughing. I'm laughing because I'm in a fresh new season of starting all over again. But I feel like I've shared enough stories that we're not even going to go into that. So I'm going to say my first major starting all over was at the end of 2016, going into 2017. So it was about 46. And before I turned 45, I remember constantly thinking, what is wrong? What's missing? This was around 2015 in the restaurant. Like I said, I'd met this John Maxwell coach. I'd started thinking of going to the John Maxwell conference for my own self, not to be a coach, just for my own self. Because I kept asking the question, what is missing? What is missing? And that was actually when I came up with that phrase, I'm possible, so are you. I remember being so overwhelmed. The business numbers were not the greatest. The economy was going through its own. Like I said, at home, things were just always tight and cold and unpleasant. So I had all that domestic unrest also. Children looking up to you. You barely have the answers for your own self, not to mention for them. And so I just said, God, you know what? I'm possible. This thing, I can do it. I'll do it. And in that moment, I said, oh my God, I'm possible. It's not impossible. It's actually impossible. I'll never forget that moment. My daughter was having swimming lessons. I was in the hot tub waiting on her. I got all excited. I wrote it down. Impossible. And then I added, so are you. And it just became a mantra that I started using to push myself. I saw a question that's tied to what we're saying. You know, what do you do? How can you push yourself when you're not motivated? If we ask all of us to go around and put up our hands, some of us will put up 2 hands and 2 feet. We have all been through days, nights, seasons where we just can't motivate ourselves unless somebody wants to lie to you. We all go through it. But again, it's that belief and really believing it that it's one day at a time, that this too shall pass, that I came with nothing and I'm going to leave with nothing. And so in the interim, if I'm feeling a bit lonely, if I'm feeling a bit poorly, it's not permanent. Life by its own very nature is not permanent. So what's going to make my down season be permanent? And it's the same way we can appreciate when we're having joyous moments that it could not be permanent. So it's one day at a time, right? And I say every time I speak that I recognize, and I appreciate that God honestly gave me an overdose of this boisterous ginger soul. So I do recognize that everybody doesn't have that. And that even with my own energy, I still need good people around me. So you need good people around you. And keep your circle small of those people that you can comfortably open to and say, it's rough. It's rough. I don't know what to do here. I don't know what to do there. Can you guide? Can you know? Or if you were in this situation, what would you do? But sisters, I'm going to tell you, after I listen to everybody, I still go back and I say, God, I can be naked in front of you. If I can't tell them, I can tell you. There's no shame with me and you. Man, me, I'm struggling. I'm struggling. And I find that comfort comes. And the comfort doesn't always come in the moment. So also don't be discouraged when you don't find answers in the moment. But I promise you guys, in this recent season of loss and starting all over that I'm in, that I've not even finished processing, so I'm not even talking about it yet. I find that when I have those conversations with God, I sleep well. I may not still have the answers, but I sleep well. I wake up the next morning, I wear my lipstick, and I keep it moving. So also you have to accept that you're not always going to have all the answers, and that's okay.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that. I had a question sent to me. Just one second. Let me see if I can find it. I had one question sent to me. She said, with respect to showing what you do, letting people know the things that you do, she said, until when do you know when you're doing too much? Should there be a limit to what you show when it comes to, letting people know what you do and all of that? At what point are you doing too much?
So first of all, I am not a believer of anybody's doing too much. If God has planted the thoughts, the ideas, the creativity, the energy in you, it's because He wants you to do too much with it, right? Now, a safer way to think about it is, when am I telling too much or sharing too much? We have to most definitely apply common sense, right? And intuition. Let's even forget common sense for a minute, because common sense isn't always that common. Let's apply intuition. You know when you're saying things you shouldn't say yet. You know when you're doing things or taking an opportunity that is not aligned for you. You know when you've made a friend with somebody that makes you uncomfortable and you're asking yourself, why am I here? You know when you've engaged a business, an opportunity that you don't feel right about. I don't believe there's any such thing like doing too much, especially in this world of just mass communications. I'm a brand manager at the end of the day. I'm a marketing communications professional. So those things don't go away. And the thing that we have all been sold that is the biggest lie is that you should keep quiet about the things you do and about your accomplishments, because you might come out as you're bragging or you're arrogant or you want to rub it in other people's faces. No, there's a way you do things. There's a way you cleanly share of your skill sets, of your experiences, of your accolades. It inspires other people. I'm the youngest of 5 children. If I didn't go downstairs in the living room every day and see everybody's pictures of their graduation, might it have been such an inspiring thing to want to go through after 6 years of secondary school, 4 years of college, 2 more years of a master's degree? But in my home, everybody's graduation pictures were proudly displayed. I would look at that thing and say, one day my own is going to join. Alas, by the time I graduated college, I didn't even stay for graduation here. By the time I finished grad school, I'd lost my parents. So I never even really got to see those 5 pictures on the wall. But it speaks for something to see people go before you and do something. That thing that you think is too much, there's a little girl sitting somewhere in the corner of the world saying, I wish I could do this thing, I wish I could do that thing, but I'm not sure. And then she comes and she sees Naomi doing it. And she's like, oh, this thing is doable now. Because Sister Naomi somewhere in Accra has done it. I can do it. And you know also, if you're doing too much, it's show off. You too, you will hear it in your language, but most importantly, you will feel it. Even when you think I'm sharing something just so everybody else can see that I'm doing it, dial it back. Dial it back. Intuition is our best friend.
Okay. Amazing. I hope that MFA, I hope that your question has been answered. I feel like this was great. This was really great. Lori has a question. She says, please, my question is, how did you deal with friends and family when things changed? How was communication in there with them? Did you lose some? And how did you deal with it?
I love that question. And it takes us right back to what I said about everybody needs a group that they can call their own. For me, it's my family. My family is my rock. From the family that I came from to the family that I have built. Some of my biggest cheerleaders are my siblings and my children. And I have a tight, very tight community of close friends, mostly made up of childhood friends through high school, college. And because we all have mutual friends, we remain a very close network of friends. I have tons of acquaintances. I come on social media, I have a great time. As a matter of fact, as I'm going through life's difficulties, and some of it has been very loud and public, the people looking at me and saying, this is not the woman that they're saying this is her reality. Or is she not aware of her reality? The people in my community know I'm very aware of my reality. The people in my community know my struggles, some of my struggles. And even those struggles don't go to everyone, right? Because everybody can't give you the same kind of shoulder. You know, somebody else is still managing their own shoulder. They love you, but they can't carry your own in addition. It's for you to be discerning. It's for you to be discerning. I don't feel like I've lost any friends that are important through all of my seasons and changes. I've lost tons of acquaintances. Part of the difficulties of my relationships that I haven't dived into because it's just not what I'm ready to talk about yet is a really difficult marriage, really difficult in-laws, and I've lost a lot of those relationships. And I'm currently comfortable with that and at peace with it. But you know, anything can change anytime, any day. I hold my head up high. Anybody who doesn't see me in a light that aligns to their light and where they're going, there are many ways to the market. So you go this way, let me go that way. It's what you have to do, sister. Have yourself your core network. Put God at the top of that core network and be praying for your network. Because going through my seasons of loss and failure is when a lot of my friends also started speaking up. And then it's like, oh, you were dealing with that? I didn't say anything. You know, I didn't want to trouble us. I didn't want to trouble everybody. Let's speak up with the people that we're comfortable with and always take it all back to God.
Okay, awesome. I'll take one last question and then we will let you go. So,
Thanks.
Naomi says, how can I overcome low self-esteem and confidence after a negative experience that happened years ago is still affecting me? I think that this is a good question, especially with regards to everything that we're speaking about today.
Thank you so much for that question. I don't know who asked it. Thank you for your vulnerability to ask a question like that, because our self-esteem can really be bruised when we have bad experiences. I wish we had an opportunity for me to do some demonstrations. One of my favorite demonstrations is quite a common one. You take a couple of, currency bills, crumple them up, step on them, maybe even rip them a little bit, throw them on the floor, put it in oil, bring it out. Does it affect the value? Not at all. You go to the bank, you're still going to get the same value for that currency. It's one of the best examples of how our self-esteem, self-confidence, and self-belief operates or should operate. Things will happen to us on this life's journey. And it's said in all the different holy books, right? I will test you with such a thing of hunger, of crisis, of loss of things, of loss of family. I will test you with such a thing as lack of children, or you have the children and you lose them. You don't ever have a spouse. You never find one through your life's journey. Or you get a spouse and you lose. You get jobs and you lose. It has been written before we came to occupy this earth that we will be tested. It is critical for us to remember every adversity is a test. Yes, something bad has happened to you. You were that parent, crumpled, thrown on the floor, ripped. Your value is the same, sister. So you now need to start from the inside to remind yourself. I really believe in the power of one. But outside that, I also really believe in the power of community. Outside that, I really believe in the power of therapists. There's a reason that psychiatrists have gone to school to learn about the human brain and mind, to be able to help any of us when we're struggling with esteem issues. If your car is giving you trouble, you go to a mechanic. If you have headache, you go to your family practitioner. When you're pregnant, you go to a gynecologist. When your heart, mind, and soul are down, you've gone to friends. You've taken it to God. You've gone to the pastor. You've gone to the imam. There's a reason there's a psychiatrist. There's a reason there's a psychologist. There's a reason there are psychotherapists. You can go to these people who can use science to help. Because what if you're battling with just some hormonal changes, some hormonal deficiencies, and you're just suffering alone in silence? So, again, I believe in self. I believe in community. I believe in the power of the word. I believe in God. I believe in therapists. And we should explore all that we need to feel better while we're on this life's journey.
All right. Thank you very much. That was a fantastic answer. Naomi, I hope your question has been answered. And ladies, please, if this has been a valuable session, I want you to drop some clapping, fire, thank you, emojis and stuff in the chat. Aminah, thank you so much. Thank you
Thank
so very much. I have waited since 2019 to hear you share with our community, and no doubt this has been an amazing session. This has been an amazing session for us. Thank you so very much for joining us for the High Value Woman Virtual Conference 2025. We pray that this show that you're on goes super fantastic. And when it comes out, I will be one of the first to say, I knew this was going to come out. I knew this was going to come. So thank you
Thank
so
you. I
much
just saw
for
another
sharing
sister
stories
friend
with
of
us.
mine came on. Kemi Soken Morris. Thank you so much. My big sis Spash. Thank you so much. I thank you, Zoe. It's no coincidence
No,
that the
it's
time
not.
that we're waiting for happened today, in this
Mhm,
moment, at this
mhm,
time. And I
Mhm.
only look forward to sharing more. I also apologize for all the interruptions. They're trying to
That's
clear up
completely fine.
exit. I think I'm the last person here actually.
Right.
So I'm going to want to head out and not keep waiting.
Absolutely.
And thank you so much for having me. It was
Thank
such
you
an
too
honor.
so much for coming on. We appreciate you.
You'll
Thank
have a beautiful
you do too, ma'am. Thank
God
you.
bless you, Esther. Thank you.